Good morning, good morning. Happy Sunday, people of the internet here watching on YouTube. Other people build 3D printers. How's everyone? Lost my chat window here, so let me bring that back. Let's see who's here. Martin, Popaway, Chaz, Mike, Kenny, Wig Central, TJL, Jeff, Lewis G, Nathan's always here. Tin Talon, John. Good afternoon for Chaz. Yeah, good afternoon. Red Fox, Howie. I feel like chat windows have been a thing. Have they? I keep losing mine and I don't understand why. It says I have it docked, but I don't see it. Whatever. We'll make do. We'll figure it out. At least I have one chat window, and that's good enough. So today, I think the goal is to try and get as much of the electronics done as possible. And so because we have that Physics Tech EMS window, I'm sorry, not window. I read Howie's comment and just regurgitated what it said. But because we have that EMS electronics panel, laying out electronics is going to be easy to see and easy to access for now. And then we'll see if we can get that actually installed into the printer today. Hey, Steve Clark, good morning. Chat windows have been freezing and or disappearing. Interesting. Yeah, OBS doesn't always play nice. But we'll make do. It'll be fine. No one will die today because we don't have a chat window. Busy is awesome, yeah. Really good stuff. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time. I want to get in and get done. I've only got 3 hours today, so I have to be done by 10:30. So we're going to get as much done as we can on the electronics. And then thinking ahead, I know that for the second half of February, I'll be out of pocket. And so the week of the 20th, whatever day that Sunday is, let me just check the calendar here. It looks like probably the 21st and the 28th, I will miss 2 weeks. So the last 2 weeks of February, I will not be around and able to stream. So we got to get close on the build. We got to get it almost done. Havoc, haven't missed anything yet. Petty, good morning. Lee Marie, good morning. Keela. All right. So we're here. This is where we left off last week. I've done a little bit of things to put us in a better position. Excuse me. Hey, Bryce, good evening. So you can see there are DIN rails down here. I was just kind of test fitting those to see how they're going to work with our EMS system. So once that EMS mounts up underneath here, it's going to rest on these DIN rails providing support. All right. Turns out the DIN rails I ordered are a little bit too long. I think they're made for a 300 and not a 350 or not a 250. And so I either need to cut these or order new ones. I will probably cut these. I'll probably cut these just because I don't want to order new ones. They're only like $10 or whatever for most of the other resellers, but I just don't want to deal with that. I want to keep moving. So yeah, that's a thing. Never cut DIN rails before, but we will figure it out. Looks like you're running out of room for printers. Havoc, you don't know what you're talking about. I made room this week. I sold my LH Stinger earlier in the week and shipped that off to someone in Oregon, I believe. And so they have a new LH Stinger, and I have more room on the shelf. But yeah, we are definitely need to downsize before the move. Seems to be Lunar New Year. Hey, Skyrim. Staying safe in your path of the winter storm. Yeah, I heard about that. You guys had to cancel yesterday because of it. Cutting DIN rails is easy. Yeah, I've just never done it. I'll figure it out. Angle grinder. Yeah, you guys think I have all these tools. I don't really I don't have all these tools. But there's a Harbor Freight like an hour away. So if I wanted to make a 2-hour trip to go get an angle grinder, I could figure it out. I do have a hacksaw, though, and that's what I was going to use. There's a jig to print to cut them like a miter, so you can use a hacksaw. Good. Tribute to a good chunk of the country. Sing this tune, riding the storm out. Dremel. Yeah, I don't have a Dremel. I don't have a Dremel. I don't have a bandsaw. I don't have a benchtop vise. I don't have any of that stuff. I do have a hacksaw, though. So we'll figure it out. Either way, this is where we are. I did put the little beauty panels on. I'm not sure if this was on here last week or not. But these just sit on top of the plate. I just chopped off the top of the original mounts. Those go on to clean it up, make it look a little nicer and add a little color. For the bed, that's kind of where we got stuck. I needed to modify the end of the kinematic mount because it was just hitting the lead screw. So the mount in the rear, let me get you a better shot. The mount in the rear needed to modify. So I went through a few different iterations of trying to get this thing right. Let me get you in here nice and tight. There we go. So you can see it's black, and that's because I chopped so much off the top of it that I thought maybe it would be weak. And so I printed it out of PPS carbon fiber for the 5-minute build fun. Thanks for the $5, Bearded Printer. Oh, speaking of that, since you're here now, I can show you this. Check this out, Bearded Printer. Don't disappear yet. I made your heart bowl. I made your heart bowl for work. So I'm gonna take this to work and put some candy in here, and this is gonna be for Valentine's Day. It's printed from Ambrosia Coral Wave ASA, and so that's why we're getting the color transition. But yeah, it came out very nice. I like it a lot. I scaled it up to 150%, so to hold a little more candy. But yeah, it's a nice model. This took about 4.5 hours, I think, for this one. But yeah, I'll make sure to post a make for you. Came out great, thanks. We need to go tool shopping. Which Central we do. There's a lot of things I need that I just haven't gotten around to, and I really need to get back to doing. So I'm hoping to do that. Okay, so chopped off the top of the mount. I've gone through several iterations. So this is the first one I started with. And what I did is just chop off a corner of it there so that I could get this silver bracket to extend over top. I decided that was kind of dumb. I would need a lot of support to print that. And so that was option one. And I just removed the rest of it and just cut it all the way across, removing, I believe, 5 millimeters off the top of that, which made it a lot thinner and just thin enough that this bracket could overhang the top. So that seemed to work pretty good, and it's going to hold the bed just fine. And so now I just need to make sure that the bed lines up on the pins, and it should be good to go. I'm not going to install that today. I'm trying to move this printer around with this heavy chunk of metal on there. It's just asking for trouble. So that kind of goes on, and you're seeing this real time. I have not tested this out yet. I think the bracket may need to go back just a touch. Just a touch more to the rear to allow these front pins to fully settle. Yeah, needs to go back probably 5 millimeters or so. And so we can make that adjustment. And then we'll lock those down and call it good. Why is that bed mount backwards? I put it on backwards because it was contacting this edge here was contacting the lead screw at the rear. Again, this is not a normal Trident. Here, let's see if I can move this all the way forward. Yeah, it was contacting right back here. So the black bracket that we had to print is a little bit shorter. One solution might be to just cut that and make that shorter. But again, we're talking about tools that I don't have, and I don't have a tool that I think can really do that. I don't have a belt grinder or anything to do it. And so that's why. Come on. There we go. Oh, I think we're hitting the Z-axis here. Hold on. Let's do it this way. Let's move this out of the way a little bit. You have a miter box? I don't have any of that stuff. Excuse me. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so I have like crap in my throat and a little bit of sniffles. Hope I'm not getting sick, but I think a lot of people are getting sick right now. So I think that's about right. We'll cinch that down, get one more check on it, make sure the bed's good to go. I may have to space out this Z-axis nozzle switch, just because it's hitting on this bracket as well. So if I space it out to the right, it should work for us. We'll see. What are you asking me, projects? Good morning, Fegley Viper. Yeah, nasty flu is going around. Dude, I hope it's not the flu. I don't feel that terrible, but I'm feeling a little bit of something. It could be that it's really cold out here today. It is 25 today. It's pretty chilly. Pretty chilly for us. Okay, so that looks a lot better. The rear is now in the center of the pins, and the front looks pretty good as well. Those look to be roughly in the center of the pins there. So that's probably a good position for our bed. And we were able to make the kinematics work even though I couldn't use the full bracket. So spun it around, that saved a lot of time. Just chopped off some plastic, reprinted there. And that's a lot easier for me than just trying to, you know, alter some metal bracketry here with tools that I don't have. All right. So we'll just put the bed to the side for now, and we'll get back to it. 25, you'd be wearing shorts? I do have shorts on under my sweats. I'm outside, like in a garage. I don't hate the cold. I actually like the cold. I would prefer just to wear more clothes, but when it's windy, it gets painful. Trade you cold. Havoc, yeah. Some people have it worse. I'm not complaining, just saying. I got a little space heater over here. It's keeping it acceptable in here. It is a little bit crisp. Hey, Low Sync. My voice sounds a bit sick. Yeah, sorry. Isn't the frame the same as the Trident? So if so, it should fit. You have it on yours. Projects, yeah. So the frame is a Trident frame. The bed frame is a Trident bed frame. These are Trident bed frame kinematic mounts. The difference is slightly because of the way that the kinematics are, and we're using the legacy gantry, is that these brackets on the Z, the ones that mount to the linear rails, are slightly different. And so it changes slightly the position of the bed. So shifting it aft so you can reach the front edge of the bed forced a change to this rear bracket that pushes it closer to the lead screw. And so because of that, it needed to be modified. And also because of that, this bracket now hits this lead screw. So hear ya. We tried it last week. It doesn't work out. So the option is to either cut the bracket and modify the bracket itself, or flip it around and print a new plastic part. I chose to print a new plastic part. Sounds soggy. Okay. You live in Michigan, 25 is a heat wave? That's crazy. 25 there too. In Florida, it's been cold, and 2 weeks ago it was shorts and sleeves. Yeah, same. Hey, thanks, Nathan. Yeah, I'm headed out to Florida here at the end of February before it gets too gross and hot. But yeah, last week we had weather in like the 70s, upper 70s. And then this week we're down in the Today, I think the high is the upper 40s, but we get 40-degree swings overnight. Nice will be nice. 25C is 77F, which is the current temp here in your part of Florida. Yeah, no thanks. Another cold spell starting tomorrow. Daytona had snow? What? That's crazy. Yeah, we have snow up in the mountains nearby. So about an hour from here, we've had some snow. Snowing in Michigan. Yeah, I kind of miss snow. Not the type of snow you all get for weeks on end, but you know, a week of snow where you can go and build snowmen and play for a couple days. I miss that kind of snow. All right, I think I want to get to electronics real quick. So 4C39 in the UK. Yeah, we're negative C in California today. Fegley, I am in Southern California. Negative 44? Wow. All right, let me move this real quick. Let me grab the electronics. We've looked at this already, and the front is this end here. Let's get the camera down so we can see what's going on. And we'll zoom you guys in a bit. Oh, right there. All flights in one of the DC airports canceled. Yeah, that's happening a lot across the Northeast right now with flights and things and stuff. A lot of cancellations this weekend. Not at all. I was just shaving out here. Let's clean up. Stop the crazies from going out and bothering the feds. All right. I know that these 2240s that we have installed are probably the best drivers that I prefer to use because they give me temperature for the motor drivers themselves. And you'll be able to see that in Clipper. I've talked about that previously, but for those that haven't caught it, use 2240s in your driver sections. Clipper will show the temperature of those drivers automatically. There's no configuration required for that. And then I ended up printing this little bracket because the downside is that these do run a little hot. And yes, we're going to have 60 millimeter fans on here that blow air throughout the chamber, or I'm sorry, the lower electronics bay. But I wanted direct cooling. And so in the repo for the Physitech mount repo, you'll find little fan brackets and things that you can put sort of anywhere you want on the grid. I had this spare 40-20 fan, so it's a thick boy, just in the drawer, and I think this will be a good use for that. So I'll mount the bracket, add the fan in this area here to provide additional cooling across these drivers just to make sure we don't overheat. They will get hot if they're not actively cooled, and especially if you're running a higher motor driver, a higher voltage driver. They can withstand up to 36 volts, and so if you run them on 36, it's going to get a little hot, and they will shut down your printer. So to avoid any of that mess, we're going to do something else. I've got another little bracket here, and I think I want this to sit about that location there. And so that means I put this insert right here. I'll lower that down and then add my fan bracket on there. There is some adjustability left and right to be able to move this. And so any of the spaces in this area, you're probably going to be good to go for a fan bracket. The PSU is smaller than the main board. Yeah, it sort of is. Having everything laid out, you can really get a good idea of the scale of it. Yeah, I was surprised when that showed up in the mail. I thought that it was a extruder or something. But yeah, very small PSU. And the idea that you have two different voltages, so a 5 volt and a 24 on the same PSU, it's pretty nice. Been going over yours and Steve's live streams of the Delta Flyer before you build yours, like 6 or more parts are print. Nice. BB's, good luck. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Well, they do call it compact for a reason. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. All right, we need longer hardware than that. Let's go with this guy. Let's see. That should work. Okay. And then we'll just run this to one of the free ports somewhere on here for a fan. I don't know which one yet. I haven't looked at the schematic for the main board to determine what wiring is going where. We'll check that out in a second. So until then, I'm just going to leave that as long as we can. And if I need to find a different way to power this fan, I will do so. There are threads modeled into the yellow part I'm screwing into, so you want to be a little careful about how much tension you place on these screws. And I'm only going to add 2, simply because I don't see the need to have 4 screws on a fan that's just providing cooling for our motors. And this little bracket is in the way here, or this cable raceway, sorry. So maybe we rotate this up. Got the screw jammed in here. Here we go. Rotate the fan up, push this through as much as we can. Rotate it back down. And then we'll use a ball end driver to secure that. Went with the M4 extruder as well. Nice. Yeah, it makes sense with the parts that you get on your Delta Flyer. Having that BMG come in the kit is great if you want to use it. But you can also use an M4, which is a little more, I don't want to say better, because you will need to get extra parts like a belt, and you'll need a pulley, and you have to print some extra parts, but you can steal everything out of the BMG and throw that on there. Add some metric reamers for future tool purposes. Red Fox, thanks to the generosity of folks in the chat, I was able to get some metric reamers. So I got this set here of metric reamers. I had been using drill bits before, but someone recommended doing these. And yeah. So I picked some of those up, thanks to folks in the chat donating and super chatting and things. Still working on Dremel money, though. Yeah, it'll be a little bit. Probably after we make the move. Hopefully LDL will come out with another one that's 48, 12, and 5. That'd be cool, Red Fox. M5P verified. Yeah, so it's an M5P. Again, using spare parts that I had, I only need 5 drivers because we are going to use the Nighthawk 36. And with having a toolhead board, I don't need a 6th driver. So why not use hardware that we already have installed? I think a M8P is overkill for this build. It'd also be larger. And so this one seemed to fit the space. It's what I had on hand. It does the job just fine and provides all the necessary connections. It's even got the, excuse me, the EXP ports for the display that I'm going to use. I'm just going to use a standard 12865 display, or 864 display, excuse me. And that'll connect here. This is the front, so the display will be right here. I don't really want to use a touchscreen and all that kind of stuff. I want to keep it a little bit old school while being modern underneath. 48, 24, 5, not 12. Yeah, that's probably better. Yeah, 12 volt is not really a thing in 3D printers much anymore. Okay, where should we start? Where should we begin with all of this? I know that I need a USB cable here. There's one that comes in the box. Comes in the box with the Nighthawk stuff. So we could probably just do that one really simply. And then we'll be cutting and stripping a bunch of wiring. I did add some Wago ports here so that I could just distribute and use this like a distro block for 24 volt. There's even a ground portion as well. I know that's going to go there. I know this is going to plug in here. So just trying to route some of this extra cabling. So my initial fear is that this will be extend out too far to interfere with the screen. And so what we could do is I do have some 90-degree angle brackets in here. I don't know that any of them are for USB A to A though. So yeah, we're going to roll with it. And if I need something, I can use a different cable here. Got some that are angled though. Where'd I go? Yeah, so I have this one, but it's angled at the wrong end. It's angled on the USB-C side, not the A side. What colors you pick for your Delta? Yeah, what colors did you pick? Use M8P on your Micron and SKR Pro on Legacy, smaller printer, larger board. Right, but you also have 7. You need 7 drivers for a Micron. 6 if you're using a tool head board. And the Micron does not, I'm sorry, not the Micron. Big Tree Tech does not make a 6 driver board, so you have to use an 8. So it's fine. I've got an M8P on my Micron as well. And I do have an SKR, I think, but it's installed in something else right now. It's in the ProForge. All right. No mains wiring just yet. Those are attached to the skirts. And so I just need to add the skirt and then we can connect over here for mains. I guess we'll do the distro really quick. It's 24 volt. So anything 20 gauge should be fine. I've got some 20 gauge here. It's red and black double wire that I use for a lot of different things. This is 66 feet, so 20 meters of wire that I've had for a while. And I use this on a lot of different builds. I'm going to use this to add 24 volt to the distro. And because things are connected together, it keeps it a little bit cleaner. Might have to move everything up 1 hex. Why is that? So the challenge, John, this is going to have to stay where it is. The Z motor for the rear Z sits right here with about a 5mm gap between the power supply and the motor itself. So I can't move this any further aft. It's basically got to stay either left and right here or come forward 1 block. But then if it comes forward 1 block, that puts me right at the seam in this panel. This here should be fine as well. Again, the screen we're using is not a touch screen. It's the 12864, which just has the 2 EXP cables. And so I believe everything should clear. I'm not really worried about that whatsoever. So I did a lot of layout. That's the reason I like this, because we can take it in and out. We can build it here to make sure everything fits, and then put it in, so we'll have a better idea. Move the middle cable run up, and then move the MCU up. Yes, if I needed to, I could do that. I don't think I need to, is the thing. Right now things fit just fine. this is the only port that I need access to, and the cable bends enough to look like it will clear. And I do have a 90 degree that I just found in here, this guy. So it's a 90 degree on the USB-A side and on the USB-C side. So this would work just fine if I wanted to use that. So yeah, we're going to stay where we are for now. And then if I need to later, because I was wrong, I'll let you know, and then we'll adjust. Your one complaint with the M5P is that it only has 2 fan ports that can be controlled by Clipper. The board really was designed to be used with a tool head board. Yeah, that does make sense. That does make sense. So I think what we could do is this fan port we could use as, I think there's a Pi fan on here. One of these two. So it looks like 2 fan ports here. There's a Pi fan port here, and then 3 other fan ports here. So I'm seeing at least 3, plus a Pi fan. And then there are 2 other ports here that I don't know what those go to. So we have at least 3 fan ports, plus a Pi fan. I think we'll be okay. I've also got, if we're not, so for our skirt fans, it may be an issue. And so instead of taking up 2, I've got the splitter where we can just run 1 to the board to here, and then this splits out across however many other fans we want to control for cooling. So if I'm worried about it, we could add our 60 millimeter side blowers and this one all to the same fan port over here, and only take up 1 to power 3 separate fans. 3 separate fans. Always on, cannot be voltage controlled. Yes, understood. You think chamber, exhaust, part fans are supposed to be on the Clipper expansion board, so voltage is separate? Yeah, so I'm not going to run an exhaust fan. I normally do not. So that entire exhaust setup that you would see on the back of a Trident or a V2, I'm not going to do that. I don't see a need, and I've never really used it. None of my other Vorons have that either. I just need to get some ferrules real fast. So these are ferrules that came in the kit. I forget what, I think they came with the Nighthawk. And also this one as well, we could just use this as a Pi fan if I wanted to. Oh, there's 2 different sizes in here. That's right. I was wondering why that looked weird. Okay, let's do these 2. And again, I've got plenty of these. I'm not super worried about using them all. Get our handy crimper out here. And the way I like to do this one is insert the ferrule first and just kind of hold it with the tool, and then I'll put my wire in. Once it's down flush, give her a squeeze until she's happy. Exhaust fans are basically for ABS and other HEPA filtering. Agree. Yeah, I print a lot of ABS. However, I print in the garage. So if it's a little bit smelly, I don't really care. Good morning, Reverend. And I like that the power supply, the new compact one, has spots for ferrules instead of fork terminals. I just prefer ferrules, I think. All right, so let me see how this is going to go. So we'll do that way, and need a screwdriver. It is a Phillips. because of course it is. There we go. Just make sure these are all loose. I did not paint the terminals. They came that way. I thought I might have to when I was unboxing, and then I noticed that they're already green and red and black. Which is good. I just took a Sharpie to these ones. This green is weird looking on top of orange, so it doesn't super look green. But I was thinking that I might go back with some of the paint markers I have and paint them different colors. Okay. Positive 24. Good. Negative 24. Good. Well, Chaz, if you're still here, I was kind of been following along with what you've been doing on your parallax. Still interested in doing one of those. Oh, that didn't work at all. What did I do wrong? Still trying to source some of the extrusions and take a look at some of the other parts. It'll be one of those deals that I want to do, and we'll see if we have time to do it. I'm trying to play it safe right now and not take on too much, because in the next 4 months we'll be moving, and so I don't want to be in the middle of a project and then find out that I need to go. Find out I need to go and then just have to lose all motivation to finish. So it'll be a mad dash trying to get things back started. Hell yeah, more scope creep, more scope creep. Yes. Well, you just lose all momentum, you know? It's probably going to be like when we have to shut down for the move, it's probably going to be, geez, a month, 30 days or so before I can get back up and going. It really just depends. I have no idea where I'm going, and so that's going to make all the difference. If I just go from like SoCal to NorCal, not a big deal. But if I go SoCal to East Coast, that's a lot different. Okay. So we have good 24 and negative 24 there. We could also probably get away with doing this one for our SSR. We'll run that back to the bed. Yeah, and then 24 from our USB over to one of the outlets here. So back up. All right, let's do some of that. Ends up going in a box and then staying there for a long time. Exactly right. Sounds like you could do a bunch more modding projects in that time rather than printer builds. Correct, Gergman. That's kind of the plan. This could possibly be the final build that we do for a little bit, just because builds take, 7 or 8 streams to get through, whereas smaller mod projects, maybe 1 or 2. Yeah, I'm still filling it out, trying to make decisions with, not really understanding what the timeline is. That's what I need. I need to know what date is departure day. Once I have that, everything else can, we can back up the timeline and figure out the other stuff. Oh, you can use the hot end heater port as a fan control too. Correct. You absolutely can. Absolutely can. And conversely, you could use one of these always on fan ports as your power for your LDO, Nighthawk USB breakout power board thing. It's a lot of words. LDO USB Nighthawk. That's what the bracket says, so that's what we'll call it. So yeah, you could definitely use the always on fan port for this. As soon as the board comes alive, this will get power, which will light up your tool head board, versus using a heater port that you can PWM control for fans or something like that. What if they sent you to Nellis? That would be cool, just saying. They could. They very well could. Build it when you have the appropriate time to. It's not a super involved project. You could likely fit it into 2 streams. 2 streams, yeah, probably like 2 8-hour streams, which is not my jam. I lose my voice after about 3 hours, 4 hours. I also get hungry. I have to eat like every 4 hours or I get really hangry. Start making mistakes and all of that kind of stuff. Little tug test to make sure we're good, and we are. All right. Let's tighten this down a little more because I don't want that to move. It's like rotating on there. I think maybe a washer will help us. Let's put a washer on that guy. You're working on a manual soon. You're also likely moving within the next 45 days. I'll add a bit of crunch time. Yikes. Yikes. Yeah, I think we're kind of in the same boat. Mine is a little longer than 45 days, but it may be find out and then 45 days later I'm gone. That'll definitely be crunch time. We'll have to basically pause any streaming stuff immediately so I can focus on the stuff that matters. Like getting the family settled. What am I looking for? Washer. That's what I need. One of these guys. Yeah, but a manual would help. That might cause me to wait for that. If you think you're gonna do a manual. I didn't realize until I started looking at the CAD on the parallax that it's not the same as a Rook 2020 frame. It's actually a different frame. I think it's a little bit taller. Yeah, that works fine. Watching you work is motivating you to work on one of your own printers. Yet another try zero. I love it, man. That's great to hear. That's good feedback. If me doing this stuff gets you finishing up your projects, that's great. That's exactly what I want the channel to be about. And if I can help by answering questions, let me know. Okay, that's those. We wanted this to come up here and then cut across for some 24 volts. So we can do probably that. Lovely colors. Are we done yet? No, Liz, we're not done. We're getting through electronics right now. Electronics are probably going to be this entire 3-hour block. But we'll see. We'll see how far we get. How are you today? Happy Sunday. For those that don't know, Liz streams at about noon Pacific time and goes through prints of the week. So like you get to find out all the cool prints. And Liz, I got something for you. We printed Bearded Printers new heart bowl, and it's made from Ambrosia ASA in the Coral Wave flavor. So it's got the cool dual color shifting look to it. But this is all ASA from Bearded Printer. Good, very cold. Love the bowl. Yeah, you guys are going through it right now. You guys are going through it right now. It's also pretty chilly in California right now. It's uncharacteristic for us to be, what, -C? And this one's going to go sort of here. I'm intentionally trying to keep the wiring tight so I don't have to deal with cable ties and that sort of thing. But having this distro block on here and the option to place a mount is key. This is so nice to be able to just have one spot to do all your wiring. You could make an argument that this needs to be flipped, and if you want to do that, that's fine. I just thought that with things facing backwards, when you're looking through that port in the top of the base plate, that you'd sort of focus on the main board here, and all the wiring would kind of go back that way and go into the cable chain, or sorry, in the cable raceway. And so it'd be a little bit more out of sight. That's why I have it facing backwards. But you may have a different opinion, and I encourage you to do what you like. 1F right now? Jeez. Yeah, we're looking at 27 for us. So it's warmed up 3 degrees F. Love the colors. USB tool head, nice. Beefy fan for the control board, SBC. What wattage is that LDO PSU? It looks like it is 300 watts. So LCP 300-24D5. It's good for 100 to 240 volts, so worldwide, works anywhere. And your 5 volt is a 5 amp 25 watt output. Your 24 volt is a 275 watt output. 80? No thanks. I'm good. Not in February. Or sorry, January. We're not even in February yet. 80 degrees in January should not be a thing. Although you have a heat wave today, temp climbed 20 degrees from Friday. Yikes. Supposed to get a high of 13, so you put your shorts and sandals. Hey, if you're used to it, do it up. Yeah, I have not been used to it. I've not lived in a place where it's super cold like that yet. I'd like to, just to get the experience, but I think the spouse would have something else to say about that. All right, so I'm gonna go on to the PSU. I think that makes the most logical sense. There's not really a order of operations when it comes to wiring the electronics. Just do what makes sense. And because we have it on the table, I want to do all of this low-level wiring first here, and then we'll throw in motor wiring. For the tool heads, it's actually pretty easy. We'll have to wire up the tool head separately, and we can do that on the bench top as well. And then it's just a long cable that plugs into this USB adapter and then runs up to the tool head. So that portion is pretty simple and clean. The rest of this, we got to take a little bit of time to make sure that we're keeping things neat. I am going to do fork terminals on this. We do have the SSR. It's mounted up off of the panel because that's what folks were saying it should be to get airflow underneath. And so it's just on a couple of brass standoffs to allow airflow underneath if you really get worried about it. Hey, 3D Medic Vince, good morning. Or afternoon, depending on where you live. I need fork terminals like this. That cold just smacked you in the face. Yeah, if it's that cold, unless I'm off to work or going to a place I have to go to, I don't know that I'd be going anywhere this weekend. We need a legit crimping tool for these. So just like the other ones, I like to put the connection inside the tool first and then add my wire. And I didn't twist that, so it's getting weird. I should probably be labeling these as well. So I'm going to grab the label maker. And in here, I've got the wrong tape. But if you get one that has like these cartridges, right, you could swap this out. So this would be a label for, I don't know, you could put it on top of your PSU if it wasn't labeled clearly or whatever. Negative 20C, yikes. And you could swap that out for heat shrink. And I have heat shrink right here. So yeah, you can get these small heat shrinks. And then they make a larger one. This is 5.8 millimeters, but I think they make like an 11.5 millimeter wide tape for larger wiring. So we just put that in there. And we can make one for SSR. And then we can make one for, let's say, 24 volts. And then what else? Nighthawk, USB, and I think that's about it, yeah, for now. You can just print that. You want a heat shrink labeler? Get one of these. This is an older one. I've had this since 2010. That's why it looks the way it does. It's gigantic. They make them a lot smaller now, and they work just the same. But yeah, this makes custom heat shrink labels. It does produce some waste, though. I think that might be because it's an older one. So you end up losing all of this bit here. Not a fan of that, but it does make pretty nice labels. Very readable. Okay, so we can do our SSR wire here. And I found that the 5.8 millimeter size works for the 20 gauge that we're using right now. You can get roughly 3 wires through here before it gets too tight, before you have to go to a larger size. So we'll get back to our fork terminal. That way you can use one color wire and make it look cleaner. Yeah, I've seen that. You could buy a spool of 100-foot long 20 gauge or whatever you want there and have everything be super slick. I've never cared that much to make all my wiring look the same color. I do like having the red and black and or yellow/green. Look at this one here. It forks a little bit. There we go. Fix that up. Where'd it go? This guy. Really got to put some pressure on this one. So not my favorite. This is why I dislike doing fork terminals. You got to put so much pressure on there and then really make sure that they don't come off. I've also seen heat shrink go over the end and sort of seal this in place onto the wire. You could do that as well, but definitely you want to make sure that you're labeling it because there's no way to slip a label over top. You'll be removing your forks that you just did. I've also from time to time used circle one or ring terminals, I guess is the proper term, and just have the screw go through the ring, and that way there's no way, even if the screw is loose, no way for that to come off of there and create issues. So on some power supplies I will do that. I don't know that I have any on hand right now. Probably need to get some more. But for your 24 volt, there is a positive and negative side of it. That is because you need to activate the switch. And so those are Those are polarized. Up here on the other side, you want to switch your live. So live on, live off. Doesn't really matter which side is which, whatever makes sense. But once the low voltage side connects, the high voltage side will then also connect and allow current to pass. So it doesn't necessarily matter which side over there. That is good to go. Bring this down. This going to our main board. Actually, I'm going to go up one more. This comes over and across and into, let's try to get this back in frame for you, into our main board, which is over here. So we'll go through here, we'll go through the center. And then the bed is one of these that's not labeled on the board. So this is where we might have to go to our, I want to say this is the bed connection, but I'm not sure. So we're going to double check the manual and see what's up. Print out some wire cones. We could. Ogbro label maker machine is $10 on sale. I'm going to have to Google that one. I don't know what that is. Ogbro? Uh-oh. Let's see. We need, what was I talking about? We need a manual for the Manta M5P. I've already been there at one point, so came right back up. Back in the 80s, you wired a machine shop in Santa Ana with one large spool of red, and all ends were labeled. That was all the owner would pay for. Wow. Put a thermistor behind your SSRs, but that's you. Also, in one of your printers, it's got a relay in series, which is controlled by the SBC. You don't trust much. Right. Yeah, that makes sense, DeathCube. I do like the thermistor idea. Maybe I incorporate that. I had not considered that before. That's more directed to the one wanting to do everything in the same color wire. Yeah, tracking. Mine is, I don't know if mine is fancy. It's got a lot more options than what I use. It's also old. It's at least a decade old. Probably more like a decade and a half. So I've been eyeing a new one. I just, until this one dies, I'm not really interested in paying $100 for a new one. But the $10 option sounded pretty cool. You get one of those old ones from like the 90s where it's like you turn the dial to the letter and then punch and turn it again and punch until you end up with a strip. We should do some of those. Those have to be affordable at this point. Hey, good morning, Kegel. I might have passed it because I was talking. There it is. So there's our pinout. It does look like the... Oh, that's your high voltage. Okay. Bed is the one on the left in the photo. Because our board is upside down, it'll be the one on the right. Good. All right, so we said left in the photo, on the right on the bench would be here. Also, the voltage side is towards the center. So there is zero labeling on that as far as like what is powered and what is not. So we're just going to get our marker, and I'm going to mark the voltage on this. So these are the same markers I used. These are the same markers I used to paint my Delta. You label so many wires at work. You love shrink labels, but lots of people won't pay for them and prefer wrap around labels for some reason. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. It does take a little bit of time, so there is a cost associated with that if you're a business. Just like that. So now it's clear what is what. And I'll probably do the same over here for the heaters and the high voltage, just for posterity. So high voltage is the terminal closer to the other ones, and ground is on the outside. So we'll do this one like so. Let that paint dry a little bit. And then for the other ones here, voltage is this outside one and this outside one. So like this. The label maker is still pricey, $115 on the Big A. Dymo adapter label manager, $420. Just want you to know that you were doing the Physitech EMSs. Made me want to do it as well. I just want to say thanks. You're welcome. Hey, if we can cause some inspiration on this channel, I am down for that. Actually, to make sure that we keep our mindset, trying to flip things over in your head can cause some errors. So we're just going to orient the whole thing back to where the board is aligned with the schematic that we're seeing. And we're just going to go through and double check. So 2 internal ones are voltage, external on the left, voltage on the right, voltage, and then this one here for our high voltage. If we wanted to use it at a later date, that one is also red there. So everything looks correct for as what we painted. But Kegel, good to hear it, man. What printer do you want to put it on? I don't know what you're building right now. Just looked up the EMS because you like the way it looks. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of talk about it. Let me drop it in the chat for you all. I'll drop the one that I am using. And then you can go with whatever you like. 3D models, let's see. So for those that are here, we are using this one on the build today. I'll go ahead and pin that for folks that want to see it later. 2.4 stealth changer. That's a good build. Oh, we pinned the wrong one. There it is. So for those that are looking to do this on their own printers, there's support for a ton of other machines. So there may be one for you. There's even stuff to modify one for, you know, an unsupported printer. So I encourage you to go check it out. It's a pretty cool system. But Kegel's using it for stealth changer, which is pretty cool. I'd love to do a stealth changer at some point. Hey, Tech Jeeper. Lots of stuff on his Discord too. Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't been to the Discord. I might have to jump over there. All right, heat bed is on the left and voltage is on the right. So we're going to use the rightmost terminal here. And of course, we're going to add ferrules because you have to. That's how this works. So we'll do that. Make sure we add our 24-volt label here. Only downside to these heat shrink ones is you have to figure out how to open them. So you can slide it over the wire like that. If you do it before you strip, it's a lot easier. So do that. Trim that off there like so. Move this out of the way. Grab some of our last ferrules here. Tweezers? Yeah. Yeah, they're on the other bench though. Like, I don't want to walk 3 feet, Mike. You're making me work today. But yes, tweezers work great. I have used flush cutters to just jam in there and get it aligned. That'll work as well. Which strippers were they? These are the ones from West 3D's website. So if you go to west3d.com, use code KillerPrints, you can get them for 5% off. But they are just these here. I like these. Ergonomically, they work a little better for me versus the gun type. You've had your Stealth Changer finished since December of last year. Wow. It's been updated and modified so many times. You're ready to have it in a place where you're completely happy with it. What are you unhappy about, Kegel? I think you and I have talked about a Stealth Changer at one point very briefly before. And it is something that I'm looking at, but again, just the time and the schedule to get into a project like that is not really there. I already feel bad that we have paused the members build as long as we have. I need to get back to that one pretty soon. And that one's a Mad Max, so kind of already there with you doing the Stealth Changer thing. Or not Stealth Changer, but Tool Changer thing. You like that you did it from the end of the wire instead of the side? Do people do it from the side of the wire? I've never done it that way. Is that a thing? ABS. Your problem is you're not vocally chatty. Red Fox, I had to learn it. This is not a natural skill for me. This is something that I had to learn for work, and even still on YouTube streaming wise, it is different. It's not just talking; it's talking a lot, which I'm not normally used to. So realistically, what happens is I'll do this, hang out with you guys, shoot the breeze for 3 hours or so, and then go in the house and not want to talk for the rest of the day. That's reality. Some manual ones do it that way. That's strange. Yo Dio spool came yesterday. Congratulations. Kind of a light blue ABA. I think you mean ASA. Thinking about a respooler after other projects are done. Nice. I'm glad you got it. Glad you got it. The Groff says you don't have enough patience to live stream your build in front of people. Yeah, it is slower. I'll tell you that. I'd be well on my way with wiring if I didn't have to speak throughout. All right, so that's good. We've also got heated bed goes here. So from our SSR, I just connected that to the wrong one because again, we're talking, but we'll do this. Just take this out of here. That would have been fun to find out later. All right, so I'm going to remove this. We'll have to remake it, but it's just a wire label because we already have the one for the SSR down here, and that's truly what this wire is. I thought I had put on a secondary wire for that, but I did not. Okay, so that's there. Let's do, where'd it go? Lighter. There you are. It's definitely a skill to be able to stream and build at the same time. Yes, but it is something that anyone can learn. If I can learn it, I promise you can learn it. You're unhappy with the titanium anno and how brittle it was? Same, right? So my, what is that thing called? Voron Velta. My Voron Velta is titanium anno as well for the majority of the parts. While assembling it, I also noticed that the titanium anno was a little bit brittle, and I think that is a byproduct of being the dual color ASA, Dolos, I think. I think it's a byproduct of just the Dolos ASA. It is a little bit brittle. but it looks good. I reprinted everything in planetary blue, then updated all the gantry parts of a tally with Kraken 48 volt for Z and AB. Nice. Issues with the pi disconnecting, so you did a 5 volt PSU, kept getting inconsistent Z offset, so added Cardo and now FTF. Yeah. For bed leveling, if it is an option for anything I build going forward, I will be using Cardo or Beacon. Simply because I don't want to deal with it. We're going to do clicky on this because it's a little more old school, and I don't want to really stray too far from that idea. But also there's not room in the tool head or on the carriage for Beacon / Cardo. So we're going to use clicky, which I'm prepared for. I did print the parts. Thanks for the reminder, Nathan. So we have the clicky NG here, the dock here, and then the portion that goes on the bottom of the carriage is also good to go with magnets. We did that last stream. Modified and reprinted all the Dragon Burner main bodies to have that Stealth Changer logo with the blue accent. That's very cool. Might be whatever they add. Yeah, it probably is some of the additive that prevents it from having the layer adhesion that it should. Type in the dark with a light keyboard, still get it spelled wrong. Cat sleeps on your desk is why you keep the lights off while he's in here. Yeah, I don't have any cats or animals. I have kids. It's kind of the same. Okay, so SSR is connected. Good to go there. We need power to our main board. So this is where the 24 volt comes into play. We'll make another label for that one. What other labels do we need? I don't think I need anything for the hot end. Let's see. What about our fans? Looking at the diagram here. Fan ports are, let's see. Fan ports are these here. So these fan ports, looks like voltage is on the top of every fan port. The bottom fan port that just says fan is one that is on all the time. And so if I wanted PWM, I could just use one of the heater ports as someone suggested. I forget who that was, but someone suggested we could use one of the spare heater ports as like a fan PWM. And that would work just fine. And we could use the driver output temperature to control that. That might be the way to go. Plus, I like the shorter wiring path. Otherwise, it would come around and connect here, and it would just be on all the time. I don't know what I prefer there. On all the time doesn't necessarily bother me, but I don't know the pitch of the fan. I've never used it, and if it's very whiny, that may be annoying. I'm not out here much where it matters. Yeah. I don't know. We'll save this one for last. I have not made a decision on that. What do you guys think? Should we just have it be on all the time? Or would it be better to just control it via PWM and turn it on as needed? Sound is not an issue for me. I'm not really worried about the sound for that. Let's hope cats never get there. Your petty luck spin, tag Jeeper Street with filament wins. Well, Nick, we'll see if it works for you today. If you guys have not gotten into the filament giveaway yet, it is pinned in the description of the video of the live stream. And so if you like LDO filament or want to try it out, jump in there, sign up. I'll be doing a giveaway here in, I don't know, maybe an hour. Not too far from now. I just kind of play it by ear. We get to a natural stopping point / pause, and that's where we do it. I don't have a set time. Kegel, you get Cardo to work with the CNC shuttle and Dragon Burn. You had to modify Nimi's Cardo mount. Yeah, I don't mind modifying parts either. Modifying parts slightly to get them to work is fine. That's a skill set I can do. Designing an entire tool head from scratch is just outside of what I do, simply because I haven't practiced very much at all. You think you saw my family deliver lunch at the end of a stream once, or they were going out? Your called you to go get lunch with them? Steven, I don't remember that, but it's possible. I think I was saying that. I think she popped her head out, was like, hey, are you coming? It was like very quick. And I had to wrap it up. But yeah. That might happen again today. Family time is important. Okay, so that goes there. And we do power. Let's flip this
Thanks
label.
for the sub.
So while the wires are warm, you're able to mold them to where you need them to be. And that's what we're working on. So that goes that
Thanks
way.
Thanks for the sub.
Just making sure our 24 volt is towards the center. Your negative is on the outside. I just destroyed my little cheapo screwdriver. Let's get a different one. Adam, thanks for being a member for 3 months. That means you're probably one of the first members we've had. Thank you, buddy. You always prefer PWM? The amount of stuff you're having to modify for this current build is getting crazy. Yes. So, Alex, you're doing a lot, man. Mainboard, servos, all-wheel drive. Like, yeah, when you get into that level of modification, it's going to be a lot. And good luck. Have some patience because mistakes happen, and don't be discouraged. Reach out if you need help. Okay, so this way, and then this will get 24 volt from over here. Let's do probably...
Thanks for the sub.
Probably this. Nicknake's been a member for a month. Nice. Problem with cats is having opposable thumbs is a reference to the John Scalzi written episode 3 Robots. Love, Death, and Robots. I've never seen that show. I know what it is. I know it's a series. I've never watched it, though. Bang fart. Yeah, I don't have the whole bang stuff set up to use a soundboard. Just 1 month for you. Well, Les, I appreciate you nonetheless. Always a community supporter. And that's why you're fantastic. Can't wait to see you in April. Projects and Killer Prince both take things to 11. I don't know if I'm going to 11 on this one. I try to temper those kinds of builds because they can be pretty frustrating when you're changing so many things and going so far off the beaten path. It almost becomes its own printer at that point, its own beast. And so there's a lot of different skill sets. You're cross-referencing many projects and things all at the same time. And it can be discouraging. I don't recommend it for folks that are new to doing this. They've never built a printer before, or this is their first build. I would stick pretty close to stock, maybe do some of the more common mods. things that are easier and well documented. Don't recommend going off the beaten path with Ouroboros and all-wheel drive and all these other things. That's a recipe for frustration and loss of confidence and project stagnation. All right, 24 volt and SSR to the bed. We've got 2 extra heaters here. Nathan suggests we use the fan. That's kind of what I go with most of the time. High voltage we're not going to use today. I don't know where there would be room to install a 36 volt PSU, although we do have one spare somewhere down here. Pulled it out of something. Not sure where I put it. It's not nearby. All right, what else do we need, folks? I think that's about it. We can add our fan. Go ahead and strip this and have this go to hot end 0, since we are using that tool head board. Here for the fun. Thanks, Howard, for being a member for 3 months. Wish I was doing a project with you. Would have been fun. Alex, if I was nearby, man, I'd swing by the house and go stream with you. Yeah, we should line up a project at some point and see if we can do sort of what Steve and I did. We're both doing Delta Flyers at the same time, and so it made sense for us to link up and co-stream together. I'm open to doing that if we can decide on what project we want to do. I know you got your hands full with that Trident, though, and I also have my hands full with this one. So if I do that, and then we put this over here, and go trim that. And I don't know that I printed a driver fan, so let's make a label here called drive fan. Frustrated with Mad Max 2. I didn't realize you were building a Mad Max, Nathan. Mad Max looked like a tough project. I can see how it would be. I'm getting through this one pretty okay, but I have not really dove into the Mad Max. I just haven't had time, and I owe that to you all that are members. I owe you another update on that. I think we're going to do that on Saturday. I think I can make time Saturday to get back to the Mad Max project. I just wish it was more than once a month. I wish I could consistently do each Saturday. It's not in the cards right now. I'm just a little too busy at work. Anyone see the recent Yeah, that took over Reddit. I think even 3D Musketeers had something to say about that. I saw a short with Grant talking about the Price is Right printer being sideways. That was pretty funny. But hey, man, you got to realize that not everyone knows like we know. And so, yeah, if you don't know anything, it's easy to make mistakes like that. Two times best. Best for 99% of folks to at least start stock, yeah. Like I said, if you're going to do mods, make them like minor mods. Maybe it's this Physi-Tech mod is one of them, right? This is pretty well documented, or Clicky is pretty well documented. Cartographer, things that are more add-on than modifications. Probably the better option for most folks. Mad Max looked like a tough project. Yeah, we'll see. Your at 0 is a Mad Max project. Ooh, wow. Red Fox, we may have to collaborate. I've got questions. Nathan, same. May have questions once we get to that point. I'm not 100% sure the docs I have are the docs I need. And I'm not sure what you guys are using for docs. But I may need some help there at some point in the future. I need to just really dive in and get really, really smart before I get too far into the project. Maybe we can bug Jason when LDO releases a new kit. Yeah, I'm down. Jason, has always been receptive and open to supporting my channel. He was the reason we were able to do a Delta Flyer and give one away and 2 spools of filament, and he's the reason we're able to do that every week on stream here. So yeah, if Jason is down to do a project, I'm open to it. Still in a beta state, yeah, and I think it'll be there. I don't know that there's a lot more active development. I think it belongs with the community now, Mad Max, and so any updates and things like that will come from the community side. Trying it out on a Micron, no good results and swap back. Ouch, that is unfortunate. Closest multi-tool head design to what you would want to use on a printer is the one E3D tool changer. I mean, that's one way to do it, yeah. It'll run sideways. That's true, it will run sideways. Need to put the Micron on the bench again and finish the setup. Installing Physitech stuff right now. Trident 300 Cube is your next build. Additive Atom, that's a great build. That's a great build. I enjoyed doing Trident stuff. This one is Trident adjacent, and I think that's why I like it so much. Man, my sniffling and my throat are really killing me. I'm looking for barrels. Found it. Let's get some really tiny red ones in here, made for smaller. Sorry, this is not red, this is orange. Made for 24 gauge, which is, I think, what those wires are. That might be 26 gauge on this fan. But you definitely want to use something that is appropriate for your wire size, or you're going to crimp this and it won't be tight, and your wire will pull right out, which may or may not damage some things. At the very least, it's just like that, right? So we crimped that, and this came right off. So tug test is always important. So that tells me that these are too large for what we're doing. So I'll go one size smaller, and we'll use these red ones here. See if that works. If this doesn't work, I'll show you a little trick that I do when the wires are too small to be crimped into a ferrule. One thing you could do is not use a ferrule at all. Yeah, so that came right off, right? So there's 2 fails. So here's what we could do. We could strip a little more of this wire. That way we have roughly double the amount of exposed wire that we need. We can twist this up. And then double it over. And so I'm not pressing hard, but I'm just using my tool to double this wire over. It's not extending past the insulation, but it's sticking out enough for a ferrule to make sense to grab. And you just twist all that together. Now you have a thicker wire that your ferrule should be able to grab onto. So jam that in there and give her a crimp. And now that's on there. That's not coming off. Good news, if your ferrule's a little loose, you can strip long and fold it over. Yep, Mike, we're on the same page. Yep, we are on the same page. Just a small tip for the Micron users. If you're losing X travel, use Boop and you get full travel. Yeah, my Micron right now is using Boop. It needs some updating though. It needs some love. It needs new firmware. It's kind of been static for the last year. I haven't really played with it at all. So it's definitely out of date. It needs R1 parts, that kind of thing. I'm going to keep it as a Micron though. I'm not going to modify it into anything else. Stealth Changer seems flushed out decently. Yes, Stealth Changer is very well documented. Or at least it seems to be. And with Steve out there doing a build, now you have a visual guide step by step on what to do and how to do it. And so that is also helpful. the dev and mods of Mad Max seem pretty scattered. Yeah, so again, it's a really kind of newer project that's not fully documented yet. It's going to take some time. The zero types can really, at most, use 2 tool heads. Yeah, so that Red Fox, that's what we're trying to do on mine as well. It's a salad fork, and it is 2 tool head only. For me, stealth changer with 7 tool heads and things like that, that's not really what I print. That's not what I do. And so it didn't make sense for me to spend the extra money on the hardware for multiple tool heads when I'm only going to use 2. I mean, if I'm going to do that, I've got the H2D down here that can take care of most of that. Honestly, I don't do a lot of multicolor printing. I don't do a lot of multicolor printing. The most multicolor I've done in the last, I don't know, month is probably this tool head that is 3 colors. And that's what we're going to use on this project. But I just needed a little bit of pop in there to separate the yellow from the pink. Did I need a EBB 36 for extruder driver? Yes. So I am going to use the MP5 or M5P, I think M5P. It's only got 5 drivers, so 3 Z-axis, 2 XY, and so I'm forced to use the LDO Nighthawk for the toolhead board, which I prefer anyway. So again, this board was just sitting around looking for a home. It made sense to use it here based on the build. I don't need a 6th or 7th driver, so something like an M8P is overkill, and I didn't want to waste it on this. You have extra capacity on a board that I could. It's probably better suited for something like a V2 or other printer. But I think for most machines, the M4P, M5P are going to be okay. Unless you're doing like a Micron V2 or ProForge something. Uh-oh, stay in there. Don't come out. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on chat here. Still changer docks are so much better. The Draft Shake guys have done an amazing job on them. Yes, they definitely have. And that's what it takes. It takes the community coming together and spending their own time making it easier for everyone else to get on board. And the sooner that happens, the sooner it becomes more user-friendly, and the more of those projects you see come out live. But again, that is through the generosity of those in the community. Never the expectation, but always appreciated. You think Index will be your first tool changer? Kitchell, that's a good idea too. That Index seems pretty cool. As far as the system-wise, you're still going to have to figure out mounting. You're still going to have to figure out firmware. So it's still a little more advanced than what I would recommend for a brand new beginner. But I'm hoping that through Bondtech, there's some documentation on how to set it up. Or they are working with some of the bigger brands like RatRig and Prusa and Voron to develop documentation to adapt these systems. All right. So that goes there. Looks good to me. Fan powered here. What else can we do, guys? I think that's roughly it. Next should just be motor wiring, which we've got 2 in the front coming through here and into this side of the board. And then your rear motor will be here near the power supply. And we can route that to the right, up this channel, and then across as well. We've also got AB motors that need to come down. Those will be at the rear as well. Those will use these channels and come across. Okay, I think for now, that's about all the wiring we can do in this section without getting too far. I'm going to make one wire come over from the PSU to the ground section. That way we do have a ground we can use for things if we feel we need it. So let me make one more cable here. I got to find some green wire. I'm going to probably make a big fat ground. What is this? This is some 20 gauge. All right, so I've got this spool of 100 foot of 20 gauge here. We'll run one wire over. You modify this build to have plus 100 in X so the tool heads have clearance of the standard bed when docked. Very cool. The @0 is also a beta work in progress design compared to the original Tri-0 Hex 0. That Hex 0 though, that is pretty interesting. I've been looking at that one for a long time. Years at this point. I know Hex 0 is a pretty well documented project, but that one probably ticks the box for me more than the other two. Just haven't gotten around to it. Proto extruders for your stealth changer build. Very cool. Yeah, I wanted to do one here, but we had already printed parts for an LGX light, and I really just want to use that instead of having to order more parts. Part of this build is to show off the legacy fork, but then also the other side of this build is to show... Oh, there is no ground. I guess we'll put it over here. Is to show off how you can build a printer with just spare parts you have laying around. So I'm trying to keep this as cheap and affordable as I can by using up spares. So this is a spare main board. Wiring I have around, fans I have around, hardware I have around. Honestly, the only parts we have purchased for this is the frame, the rods, the bed, and this power supply. Only because I wanted to use this power supply, not because I didn't have a normal LRS power supply lying around. Definitely did, could have gone that route, chose to go this way instead, and so here we are. All right, that's gonna go down through here. We'll just keep that really tight. And I think what I'm gonna do is put that in there. So we'll just have it come across twice here. Just come through. Stop it. Wires don't want to stay where you put them. There. And this will come down and around. So we'll just cut it probably here. Great. There's a guy who made an index-like tool changer. Do you remember this guy's name? I'd be looking to check out some of their content. LDO power supply is really popular now. I can't even get one on Taobao. I told you sold out. Oh yeah, it was sold out pretty quickly here in the US as well. I think it's back in stock now at most places. But yeah, it's pretty popular. That is true. Stay down, go this way, come across, back out, and then we'll put you in this last Wago port here. And we'll go under. So this is where tweezers come into play. Trying to make this tight turn while keeping wiring short. So after you close down your Wagos, you do want to tug on your wire a little bit to make sure that it actually grabbed it. I've had that come out a couple of times because it wasn't fully seated in there. All right, that looks good to me. You have a kinematic bed mount kit around. Yeah, I mean, that was just me. I had one laying around. You don't need it, though. You won one from the giveaway. I haven't put it in a printer yet. Useful links in my Discord. I appreciate that. I'll check it out after stream. I will look at that after stream, for sure. You could also use the streaming chat for those that want to share stuff. Share photos of your builds or whatever we're talking about at the time. Streaming chat is also available to put that in there for everyone. Okay. What else do we need to do, folks? Looks like power supply is good to go. We're going to the block, from the block to the board to have board power, SSR power, and this one driver fan. So that's all good to go. Mains power could, I guess, kind of go on right now. This is the skirt, and the skirt did come with wiring. And this is long enough to definitely go through whatever we wanted and into here. So technically we could connect this right now. And this will just kind of be flopping around. But once we drop this in the printer, this will get secured and we'll be fine. So I think I want to do that. Let's just get as much as we can outside of the printer. And then we'll come back to it for the motors and those kinds of things here in a second. We got to get this installed. The cool thing is having these raceways here is we can put all this loose stuff, this extra wire, into the channel. It'll be hidden away and turn out just fine. I need the other tool. What did I... Yeah, put it away. One thing I like to do is we could do this on the SSR as well, but there's like an upper and a lower part. You see how the fork is just one-sided? So if I turn it that way, the fork is on the bottom. And so when you put the fork on the top, the red plastic parts will hang below the power supply. And that way, when you come in with another fork and you're trying to tap to the same port, if you put the forks back to back, they will clamp into your PSU a lot easier when they're back to back than if they were apart from one another. Like, come on, fingers, do it. If they were apart from one another like this, that's a lot harder to get those to clamp together. So I like to just prep myself for a good situation and put the plastic part going down on any power supply that I connect. Okay, we got to twist that a little more. It doesn't want to go in there. Getting pretty close to when I need to be done here. So for those that haven't entered the giveaway, I need you to do that. We're going to draw probably when we get the wiring done here and before we install this into the printer. So we'll do the wiring, we'll get it installed in the printer, and I'll probably call stream there. I'm probably not going to get to any tool head wiring today because I haven't taken the old one out of the other printer yet, and I need to steal the hot end and fans off of it. Oh, that cover just like snaps right on and off. Good. I thought it was like a flip up type. Okay, so that goes there. We have to loosen up everything, of course. I also like that there's more than one connection for each of the terminals, right? So you have 2 live, 2 neutral, and 2 ground versus a mean well that only has 1 of each. And so you end up stacking your terminal, your forks here, and that can get tight, especially when you have to do 3 on the same connection. So I know that I need another one for my live and my neutral just for the bed, right? And so having them separated out into 2 different ports is really nice. That's a good touch. I'm liking this PSU more and more. I always tend to make my live red. So the red wire on this input terminal is red. And so my brain just thinks that live should be red. I don't know if that's correct per any standard or anything. So I'm going to connect it to red, and then the black should be the neutral. That makes sense to me for some reason. You can argue with me in the chat if you disagree. Just fill any empty slots on the wheel with squirrel. Do they have a 48 volt? Don't knock it, not yet. I wish they did. Jason keeps teasing us on Twitter about it. He's asked. I remember him asking if there's desire to have a 48 volt, and I think a lot of people would say yes, because if you look at what LDO is already providing when we talk about tool changing and all-wheel drive kits and things like that, those things work best on larger machines, and especially when you have a 48 volt power supply. So I hope that it happens. I don't have any additional information than you guys, but I hope that it happens. All right, like I said, red to live, and then black to neutral for me. And that's just based on the colors that this inlet came with. I try to get inlets like this that already have wiring on it so that I don't screw it up and get it backwards. I did that on one machine. I forget which printer I was building, but I had the switch swapped, and it kept blowing the fuse. And I didn't understand why until I blew 3 fuses, until I looked a little closer at the switch wiring and realized that, yeah, I had it backwards. Luckily, we didn't damage anything. The fuse took the brunt of it, but I used up all of my spare fuses trying to figure out that I was wrong. So learn from me. Pay attention. Okay, the rest of that would go sort of like this. And I think that will look pretty decent once we get the cover on and get the cover on there and get this mounted to the frame. So let's put that back on so we don't lose it, and then start to clean up a little bit. We'll do the drawing here in a second. Let me get cleaned up, and then we'll start pulling names over and doing those things. All right. I know that's what everyone is waiting for, so let's just get it out of the way. That's this. Go here. Wiring. I think we're probably done with most of it. That is what fuses are for. I totally agree. We say a small printer, which is not all-wheel drive, needs 48 volt. Any benefit? I don't. Not in my opinion. I don't know, Botio, that a small printer can get up the acceleration that 48 volt and all-wheel drive would provide. You just don't have enough distance in any of your axes to get there. And so you could absolutely run 48 volt on it. It's not going to hurt anything, but you're not going to be able to maximize the capability potential of a 48 volt system on a small printer, in my opinion. All right. Who wants filament? Who needs filament right now? Let's take you over, and then color coding of AC wires is always confusing. Correct. You have 2 printers, 1 planned, waiting for the upgraded 48 volt. Snag a 48 volt version for sure. Same. Timor, lurking. Oh, sorry, I missed you there. Thinking about your first graphite hotbed install. Maybe today. Do it up. Join me. Build with me. I lost my window. Here we go. How many folks have gotten in already? I'm seeing 46 responses. 46 responses. You've got about, I don't know, 30 seconds or so before I close this. So for those that like to be last minute Sally, you're about to be miss out John because you're not going to win. 48 volt or higher volt is really not your thing at all, though. Yeah. Needs, that'd be a waste of money. Enter from the description, correct. Enter from the description. You can ask GPT first about the color. Red live is standard for electronics. Yeah, that's why I choose live. It makes sense to me. Positive is always red on a 24 volt system, so it made sense to me that live would also be red in a 110 volt. Cool. All right, I'm closing this giveaway. 49, 50 responses. If there is anyone else, you're about to be SOL. 51 responses. So this is US only. So for those that are entering from other places, I am sorry. I should have said that a little bit earlier. It is going to be US only. LDO can't easily ship international with their filament. So giveaway is closed. I've got 52 folks. And just double checking, seeing a lot more than 52 entries. Let's try something else. Let me fix this real quick. I think 52 entries, view that. Okay. Now we look good. All right, Darren C was the last one in, so DaVinci 10. And then Clown Hammer was first. Very nice. You pull your names down. Excuse me. Paste you over here. All right. I need numbers, folks. How many times are we going to spin this thing? LDO. Heck yeah. Fill it up with emojis. LDO delivers filament from giveaways in record time. Yeah, it's like a couple of days. Just a couple of days. I think they use the resellers and just ship from one of the resellers. I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me, but I think that's what happens. I forgot to enter. Can you add my name in there a couple dozen times? Sorry, can't. Thank you for your time and consideration. Not happening. Charmingly Camara says 6. 69, not happening. Nick. Papa Ways 21. Palm is 6. Seeing a couple of 12s. Ken Davis says 12, a couple 4s. 26. You know what? This is Nathan's project. Today is 26 January for him. And so let's do 26 in honor of Nathan this week. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Good luck. Just as the giveaway was closed. Oh, did you miss out? We've had 2.5 or 2 hours. Tom Taylor, 135. Tom Taylor, are you around? Happy 2026. What happened to January? I know. What happened to January? Tom Taylor, I need you to tag me in chat so I know you're here. I don't remember chatting with you back and forth, so hopefully, there you are. Okay, good job. It only took you 23 seconds. So what's going to happen now, Tom, is that Jason from LDO and or the team is going to reach out to you via email. So hopefully you gave me a good email address. If they don't reach out to you in a couple of days, reach out to me on Discord and let me know. That means that I forgot to send them the email. So as soon as we get done here and wrap, I'll send that email off to them. You should see something today and or tomorrow. All right. Congratulations. Robbie Burns Day. Who's Robbie Burns? Time for haggis? I've had haggis one time. I used to do what are they called? Oh man, what are they called? The Highland Games. I used to compete in Highland Games, and they would always have haggis at the event. But I'm not familiar with Robbie Burns Day. All right, what do you say we put this bad Johnny inside of a printer? Let me get the camera back out wide as I can, at least. And we'll get all of this in one giant package installed in the bottom of a Trident, and then we'll call the stream there. First things first, let's make some room here. Put this away. Grab the Trident off the floor. So you guys were mentioning this last time, but we had one of the feet missing off the machine. That is because I need to angle this into the bottom of the printer. So I'm trying to get you the best shot I can. We're pretty tight to the wall here. All right, I think that's good. Everybody should be able to see. So again, this is what I meant when I said that these are a little bit too long. I basically need to trim them flush with the edge of these brackets on both ends. So while I have the chance and before I uninstall these, I'm going to mark them with a Sharpie here. Didn't mean to mark the part, but whatever. And then at the bottom, dang. Let's go, banana hands. Just marking all over the place. So today is famous poet Robbie Burns' birthday. Scots get together and drink and eat haggis. Not familiar with his work. They have those over in Dunedin. I'm not sure how to say that. Been a while since you've been down there. Or just put them flush on one side and cut. Yes, absolutely. But I wanted to mark them so I can measure, add together, and then jam it in there. But you're right. I'm not going to make two cuts. That's silly. I'm going to make one cut on either of the ends here. But I do need to uninstall these so that we can get the electronics in. It's pretty easy. It's just 2 M5s in each end. And these are only there to support the EMS. Some printers will have this support requirement. Some will not. So if you have a Micron or a V2 where the electronics still mount to the bottom of the base, but they use the hex, you probably won't have this. To my knowledge, it is Mercury and Trident that have this requirement. Grab that other one I dropped. Tell you what, let's use our tray here. Put these inside. Get out of here. So these other ones, they come out. Dunedin. Did I say that right? Dunedin. Is Prusa Connect working for anyone? Ooh, no idea. I don't own a Prusa. I'd like to. I just don't. All right, so that'll come off. What I'll do is just add up the two ends that we marked and just cut the end of it off. I'll make the other one match. What's the USB cable for? Yeah, so Nathan took care of it there. It's for the Nighthawk 36. So the Nighthawk runs on a USB system. It's not CAN bus. And so it needs the adapter board to be able to talk to the main board. If you get yourself a Nighthawk, it will come with that. And you'll have a better understanding at that point. But yeah, it's a requirement. Luckily, it's pretty small, so it'll go just about anywhere. It'll fit in just about any printer. All right. Our wiring is tied up pretty neatly, and I will probably shorten this at some point just to keep it neat. I do have all the, what are they called? Roll-in nuts in the frame, so we should be good all the way around. There are 2 per side for that EMS, and then you have an additional 2 on just opposite sides here for that DIN rail support system that goes on the bottom. There are slots in this base plate that I don't know what they're for, but they are there. I'm thinking that I'll design and print a frame so that I can lay in a piece of acrylic here to still retain the window without a bunch of junk falling in beneath. Nighthawk 36 can only, yes, Botio, that's correct. Only USB, which for the majority of folks will be just fine. Not required to run CAN. It's also easier to update. You have Scottish blood in you too, but no Haggish. I can't stand liver, so nope. Liver is an acquired taste. It's very, very metallic, which makes sense because the liver is full of iron. Let's grab these electronics. You do want to pay attention to which side is the front of the machine. So like we were talking about earlier, this little cutout here is to accommodate any screen that you want to put on. So that's going to be the front of our EMS. You can totally put this in backwards, and then you're going to hate life because you have to remove it. So the front of this machine is this direction, and so we're going to put this cutout towards the front. And the way that I'm going to do this is, because it's a Trident, it's going to go inside of these printed feet for each corner. I was able to do that earlier by just guiding the wires out of the way a little bit, giving a little flex to the frame so that the bottom 2 go in just fine. This top one, you can see it's going to hit the foot a little bit here in the corner. But what we can do is, because I've removed the other foot, rotate that and then drop it into place, and it's basically where it needs to be able to support whatever we want to do. And so from here, you just sneak in with a couple of M5s, and it'll hold the frame in place and have it pretty tight. And then lastly, add your foot on there, and you can add in, to complete the project, you'll add in your DIN rails at the bottom to support this printed piece. So pretty cool system, and our electronics are essentially done. So the part you won't be able to see is the part where I have to reach inside from the back and install some of the hardware. So just line up some of the T-nuts with the bracketry. And I remember last week, I don't know if Reth is here today, but he said I couldn't do this and that I would get it wrong. But I think in real time we're about to find out that I was correct. Do I need to put the cable raceway cover on now? I believe I can sneak in there and get it. I can use a ball end and put it on. But also I need to add in the Z motor wiring and things like that. And so I would want to cover that. I guess I could plug it in. It'll be tight, but I think I can get it done. Thanks for the double check though. If you have bigger hands or you don't want to fight with tight spaces like that, yeah, you might need to put your cable raceways on. The ones on the ends here, the long ones, are gonna be a little difficult to get to, but I think I can get it. The one down the middle here will be perfectly fine. That's accessible through the cutout. But I do appreciate the double check. I'm going to use M5x8s here because the brackets are not as big as, where'd it go? I dropped it. Are not as big as some of the other parts that we've added to the frame. And I don't want to bottom out inside. So just going through this bracket here. And the hole is just tight enough in this instance, in my prints, to be able to screw that nut, or sorry, screw through there, and it holds itself in place. But Nathan, yeah, talking about accessing cable raceways, if I do have to take this off again to do that, it's not a huge deal. So then we just line that up. It's already pulling it into place. This one inside, there we go. But to make it easier, I'm gonna get rid of the ball end driver and use a square end driver so those screws don't fall off the end. You are gonna have to make sure your things are lined up. But I've done that earlier. So all of mine are where they're supposed to be. I hope. So how many of your first printer build was threaded rod, used computer parts, and homemade nozzles? Mine was in the late 90s. I'll be honest with you, none of them. I have not had the privilege of using computer parts in a computer build or in a printer build. And I have not made my own nozzles at all. That was before my time. I was not into 3D printing that far ago. But I do remember when the E3D V6 was like the new hotness. And it was going into every printer. Like even Voron's used to use a V6. Now you do want to be careful with how tight you make this. The layer lines on the printed base do run across this way. And so if you tighten that too much, it can crack the end of it off and then you lose your mount altogether. So do be careful with that. Let's line up these end ones here. So that guy, this one. That guy. There. Okay. Yeah, using a square end driver on this one is so much better. You'll drop the screw off the end of the ball end driver. So definitely doable with the base plate on. And if you cut out some hexes to make room for stuff, it's easy to do with flush cutters. Also that, yeah. You can totally come in here and cut some of this out without, within reason. You don't want to cut, so much around the edge that your whole power supply falls out. That'd be bad news. But yeah, there's definitely room to remove some things if you need it. All right, I need to get into this rear passage here. Let's line this up. Yeah, the ones here at the back, just keeping this the way it is tight. So let me turn this. You're not going to be able to see for a little bit, but necessary evil here. All right, and then we have one last one, and we can put our foot back on. Let's move this up. Yeah, I'm actually surprised at how well this is working. I was a little bit nervous that I wouldn't be able to access things, but it does seem to have enough clearance all the way around. And then I still get the benefit of the beefy base plate. All right, electronics in the printer as promised. So a little bit floppity, you can see that down below. If I press on that, it's a little bit floppity without the DIN rails in there, but we'll take care of that. I can definitely get in here and get to the wiring. I can access the motor connections here on the left side of the board. We're golden. There is FTEMS center bracket on printables, which may be helpful. Appreciate that. I'll check it out. First real 3D printer was a 10 log 2. Wow. View reminds me of your first DIY. What? You Stathios spider? Someone say floppy? Yes, we did say floppy. I think we said floppy hot dog, and we're still waiting. We're still waiting. We should do a poll right now. Like, who thinks that Bearded Printer should make the community a floppy hot dog and stop sandbagging us? We've been asking for this for what feels like 84 years. And he still, you know, just doesn't want to support us. Okay. Try to get this foot back on here. Hot dog jiggler. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Hot dog jiggler sounds funny. There's a guy. I don't know if you all see this or who does Instagram and who doesn't, but there's a dude named the Vulgar Chef on Instagram, and his whole channel, all it is taking hot dogs and doing like weird things with them, like covering them in chocolate and making chocolate hot dogs. It's so funny and kind of gross at the same time. But like using the hot dog water to make gelatin, all kinds of weird, kind of gross stuff like that. I think it's hilarious. All right, for the feet, you're going to have one that's an M5 by 10, and this other one that I'm doing right now is your M3 by 10. And that's what's going to hold those feet in place. That's also going to double brace our frame, so now we're pretty solid. So if you do happen to put your feet on like I did, you will have to remove one to install this system if you're going from, you know, a regular electronics to this version. Just take one of your feet off. It'll make life easier. And then I need to attach something for this rear skirt piece. So let me flip this guy. Try to be gentle so we don't scratch anything. Let's get rid of some of these insulation we've stripped off. Atomic Shrimp here on YouTube has the Wobble Dog 9003i. Wobble Dog? I've never heard of this. That does sound really cool, though. Wobble dog. That's another thing I'll have to Google. What are we doing? We're doing M3s. And I know that I've got a couple M5s back here. I thought those were going to have to be M3s, but yeah, we'll do that one in. Oh, hey, Ranch Kid. Sorry, I missed you there. Just finishing up some of the wiring, the initial wiring at least. Got the EMS kit installed. Still more to do, of course, like always. We got to run the LDO Nighthawk down to the electronics bay and some other things and stuff. All right, that's not going to work. I need a tool. I'm going to insert this into the hole of the roll-in nut and just give it a little torque, and that should place it where we need, and then we can slide it over to the connection point. Move this out of the way a little bit. Get it pretty close. And then we'll add in, I think I'll use button heads for this one because they seem to grab a little better without breaking or cracking. So you do have that wider surface area on a button head screw. And that works great for getting inside of these skirts here. Probably need a ball driver though to get it, but we'll see. So we'll just get it sort of loosely in place. I can add my second one here and do the same thing. So smaller hex tool in there, torque it over, and then line it up with the top. So grab one more of these button heads, and this time we're going to get our all-in driver. Get that started, slide it over till we have a nominal gap, maybe a millimeter or so, 1.5 millimeter gap, and cinch that down. Cool. There's the electronics, folks. I think that's good progress. I'll try to get back out here sometime during the week and see if we can do a little bit more. But I think that's a good start. The challenge with doing the rest of this is you're not going to really be able to see a lot. He tests the wobbliness of different hot dogs. That's so silly. That is so silly. TLDR, how'd I get my Delta Flyer colors to look like that? TLDR, have I printed the screen mount? I have. Yeah, I have. It's this one right here. Bang. It's even got the wires. Boom. So yeah, that'll go like that and connect on there. It should be good to go. The bracket to connect to the frame is in my box of other small parts. So there's our bracket right there. But to answer your question, how do I say that name? Plague is Slim. I think that's how it says. TLDR, how did I get my Delta to look like that? What I did is I got a set of these markers. These are jumbo acrylic markers. You can get them in different sizes if you don't want jumbo. I would recommend getting something a little bit smaller. These are 15 millimeter. I think maybe like an 8 millimeter marker would work a little better. These can get difficult to use. But what you do is, let's see, have I used the yellow one yet? I think I have. So you have to prime these. And no, so I kind of haven't. So you prime them by pressing them down a few times to get your ink flowing like that. And so what you do is you come in with your marker and essentially you just mark and mark and mark, right? Until you outline your entire part. And you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be skilled. I'm not an artist. But you just go through and mark your part. And then once you mark it in the color that is close to the color of your part, you go back with black and outline again, leaving just a little bit of the color exposed, but mostly black. So that's step 2. And then you go back with white and just add some quick highlights as you go around the part. And eventually you get it to where you want it to be as far as the look. And once you're happy with it, leave it alone. You do got to let it dry though. And that's it, man. It's not that difficult. And if you like the look, I would recommend you give it a try. You can't hurt it. And if you don't like it, reprint it. My flyer looks dope. Thanks. I thought about doing it on a few other printers. So not only do I have the jumbo ones, for our Mad Max build, I ended up getting another set of markers. So I've got these very highlighter ones that I thought about doing some of it on this Trident here to make it pop even more. So these are neon paint markers. But then also I have like a more normal paint marker set. But this one is smaller. So this is a 8mm, I believe. A little more control than the big fat guy. So whatever makes sense for you, whatever colors you want. These are acrylic, which makes it nice, but you can see where I tested it, that it's running until it dries. These are oil-based. And so whatever makes sense for you on what you want to do, have fun. And if you you end up posting it somewhere, tag me. I'd love to see what you come up with. 2 more M3s. Nathan, are you saying we should add the front screen now? I mean, we can do a lot of the skirts. We're trying to just get pretty close to being done. Can run these Z motors. You guys just aren't going to be able to see a lot of it, so I'll try to banter with you back and forth. Gonna try on the V0. Nice. Paint pens are sold on the Big A. Yep, that's where they all came from. Got them all from the Big A. All right, so if I remember right, when the Trident levels, Z1 is here, and then Z2 at the back. Sorry, 0, 1 at the back, and 2 at the right side. So that's the order we should connect them as well. So I realize this is kind of hard to get in frame. It is pretty tall. Let me see if I can move this camera a bit. Here we go. No, I'll put it on last. That's what I was kind of thinking as well. So 0, 1, 2, which means we should plug them in the same way. I know that this board is labeled 1 through 5. So motor 1 and 2 are our AB motors. This should be motor 3, motor 4 back here, and then motor 5 on the far side. And that's how I'm going to connect these as well. Not required to shorten the wiring here. You can tuck it into the cable raceway and get the covers on there, and it'll hide your sins. But if you want a more professional look because your wiring is exposed, feel free to shorten your cables. I am going to hide most of this in the cable channel, and I'm just going to zip tie a lot of it together like that. I really dislike shortening wires because if I do tear this down later and want to reuse the motors for anything, I may not have enough wire length because I've customized it to the printer itself. So that's the trade-off. If you're a person that just builds it and leaves it alone and use it till it dies, maybe it doesn't matter for you. But I I am a little bit different. I like to build and rebuild constantly. I think I like the building process more than I like the printing process. I say that knowing that, you know, I've got 3 printers running right now, printing things and stuff. Valentine's Day is coming up, guys. So if you want to start making something for the special people in your life, I would get started now. Valentine's Day is only 20 days away. All right, so yeah, that seems to fit down in the channel. These are very generous in size, the channels. So that all fits in there pretty nicely. Tuck that down, tuck that down. Yeah, there's plenty of space for all of that. And we didn't have to shorten any of the cables. It'll just be, you know, making sure that you get the lid on without pinching a wire. Check out the other streams. Yeah, I appreciate it. Build's looking good. Thanks. Hey, PC oh man, that's so hard to see. We'll say PC Van because I can't say your handle. That's tough for my southern mouth to say. Yeah, we're getting there. We're trying to get the wiring pretty close to being done here. All right, that's 1, and that's in that's coming from the right side over there. So in motor 5, the front left should be motor 3 on the MP5. So we'll do the same thing that we did before. Try and keep the wiring contained in such a way that I can just like zip tie it out of the way. So I zip tie it into a bundle and then tuck that bundle into the raceway. Right now, it seems to be working fine. Cut your zip ties, folks. Don't be a savage. So that one's going to actually be really clean. Tucks away perfectly in there. And then our rear one's going to be the challenging one because that needs to come across over into where we need to be. I don't really want to cross the mains that are down here in this lower corner because I could get some interference on the motor. And so I'm considering going to the left, up, across, because we do have the length to do it, and then come back up. I think that makes the most sense to me, just to avoid any potential interference with the high voltage back there. So I'm gonna do that. We'll undo some of this, get you plugged in where you need to be. And then to make it easier, I'm going to go ahead and install the center motor, sorry, the center raceway cover here to hold those in place. What did I do with them? Right here. So we'll get this one on. I realize I still need to do my AB motors, but I'm just going to put this on temporarily to keep things where I need it to be. I don't want to get too much of a mess going on. Like that. Let's add some small this tool here. Like that. And like this. Oh no, I dropped it. Cool thing is the hex allows any drop screws to fall all the way through. Let's get under there, see if we can grab that. Oh, my hand. It's too big. I can totally see it though. Gotcha. It's your fault. I just spooled up the Fleetwood Mac Rumors album. Van Fleet. Got it. Like Fleetwood Mac. Got it. I can remember that now. Van Fleet. That's a bad thing. Yeah, Timur's our resident elder statesman. Was telling us all the cool stories last week. Dude, why is that not grabbing on there? I think that's fine for now. We'll go with that. Come back to it in a second. I need to get the AB motors down, but I also don't have the cable chain installed. So there should be a bed chain here. I think on the Trident itself, it has the AB motors coming down the verticals. I think that's the normal way of doing it. So for these two, I think they just come down the inside of these verticals here. I did not print any cable covers or extrusion covers or anything like that. And I certainly don't have any of the zip tie mounting points either. So I'll have to print some of that. But these definitely go down through the little slots in the metal plate that we made. And I did not consider that the connector would be too large. That's painful. Two solutions: take the plate off, which I don't want to do, or second, depin, shove it through, repin. I think option B is the way forward. Fleetwood Mac Peter Green era is the bomb. Yeah. So if we compare to the other one, as long as I make the pins match when I reassemble this, it'll work just fine. But yeah, it's not gonna reach down through there with this connector installed. We'll get these through. We'll get this connected, and then we'll call the stream. That'll be wiring mostly complete. Only thing left would be bed wiring and tool head cable. For those still hanging out, all 54 of you, what are your thoughts on just having the tool head ready to install and get us a little bit closer to being finished? That's something I can work on throughout the week, is wiring up the tool head, getting it good to go. We can cover down what I did, but it'll be just throw it on the machine instead of trying to wire up tiny little wires. What do you guys think? Come on. These don't always like to play nice. Some of these pins don't like to depin easily. And this one is giving me trouble today. There we go. Having a half built sounds good. It'll help us get a little further along as well. Sometimes waiting till Sunday kills me. That works. Pop away likes it. Fine by you, Kitchell. Sounds good. All right. So we'll plan to do that. I'll plan to have the tool head built, ready to go. That way we could just drop it on the carriage, attach our USB cable, run that down into the bay, and then have wiring basically complete. I need to cut DIN rails, and I need to probably get some skirt fans going somewhere, probably on that side over there. That's where the majority of electronics are. All right, I've depinned everything. We go through this tiny hole right here at the corner. And I know that the Trident has 2 covers that go here to make the entry point look a little cleaner and hide some of the wiring. I have only printed one of them. I need to print the other one. So while I'm at it, I'll also do the channel slot covers as well. And that way all this wiring can hide inside of the channel like that. What is my first objective when starting an electronic project after picking the project? My first objective is to make sure that I have all the components that I want to do. And then I consider layout, like how are all of those electronics going to package into the space that I have. So most of my electronic projects are printer builds. I don't do a lot of other electronic product type things. And so layout, part selection are my number 1 and 2. Just a brief intro of what you did. Midstream is good. Yep, that's the plan. That is the plan. But I don't really want to cheat folks out of seeing things they want to see either. So I'm always sensitive to that. I think there are enough tool head wiring examples out there that you can easily find how to wire a A4T. I just need to pull all of the components out of a different printer and then recycle them over here. And I have not done that yet. And I can't, that thing is so massive that it won't fit up here on this desk with this machine. So we got to figure that one out. Okay. So B motor is good. A motor will do the same. So D-pin, jam it through the hole, repin. Should have considered that before we added this metal plate, but you live and you learn. We get some de-pinning practice at the very least. And the way I like to do it, these are pointy tweezers, and I place my connection onto a surface, maybe sometimes up on the frame, if I can reach down here on the table, and use the pointy side to just press the little tab on the connection and pull on the wire slightly until it comes out. The more pointy the tweezer, the easier this becomes. Hard to film as well, all of that tiny wire work. Yeah, I really need to get you like a close-in shot, something like this. Something like this without my hands getting in the way, with, you know, super excellent lighting, high def cam, all that kind of stuff, just to be able to see what I'm doing. And that can be tough, right? Sweet. So we got all those, and then I like to go back and just lift up these tabs slightly. That way they grab when we reinsert them into the connection again. order matters. So before you depin, make sure that you are either taking a photo or you have something to compare to before you depin. A lot of times to shorten wires, I'll cut the end of this, right, and hold on to the free end for reference so that when I repin into a new connection, I've got something to go back to. And in this case, I'm just using the one that we've already done as my reference pin for how this should go. So it looks like red on the far left. And then next to that goes blue. Next to that is green. And then finally black. Bang. Done. And I just realized that I just pinned that before I put it back through the hole. Oh, man. Chemio Keto. Sorry if I said that wrong. Is this a hobby or a business for me? Well, anytime you're streaming on YouTube and you're monetized, you're making a little bit of money, like there's a business side to it and things like that. I mean, the hobby has to continue to pay for itself somehow, right? And so it's a little bit of both, to answer your question directly. But honestly, it started as being a hobby. I would do this regardless of streaming on YouTube or not. And I would help folks try to troubleshoot and build printers as well as part of a hobby. So regardless of the business side of this, I would be doing it. So both is my answer. Are you into building 3D printers and or 3D printing at all? Or are you just stopping by to say hi? All right, down through the hole this time. And then once we get this one good to go, probably going to wrap stream. So if you have any other final questions or comments or things you guys want to see for next week, go ahead and shout it out so I can take note of it. Next week we should be doing tool head, getting the tool head on. Probably, I'm thinking like maybe firmware too. I don't know. I don't have any panels for this, and I don't have any on the way, so doing that is not going to be a thing for a little bit. We still need skirts. And with that is a screen. There still needs to be LEDs installed. So there's still a few things to do, but the hard part is done, and that's the important thing. Okay. Let's flip all these back up again. Use our example over there to make sure we get it right. Red, blue, green, black. Green, black. All right, good to go. A and B motors repinned, ready to get accepted into our M8P. All right, folks, that is 90% of our electronics. 90% of our electronics complete. And we've got some cleanup to do. I still need to run these bed fans to a point that makes sense. I may do another Wago mount like this one here for the bed, but on the opposite side so that we just run one wire back. Yeah, and that could be our bed fans. And we can run that off of the extra heater as well. So pretty happy with the progress we've made so far. Electronics are installed. Feet are on. Bed's good to go. We solved that problem last week. And yeah, tool head next week. Some LEDs. Should be getting pretty close to adding firmware. So I'll get to work this week throughout the week as I get time. Taking us a little further along on the build. And hopefully close to wrapping this thing. For those that are affected by weather this weekend, try to stay warm. Stay inside. Don't go out there driving on the roads where it's dangerous and all that kind of stuff. But I appreciate all 49 of you hanging out to the end. Congrats to Tom for winning some LDO filament. And thanks to LDO for giving it away. Always a huge supporter of the channel. And we appreciate you guys. So that's it for me this week. We'll be back next week, same time, trying to get a little further on this build, see how we go. For those that are members, I'm aiming for a Saturday members build. Not sure of the time yet. I need to deconflict some things, but it'll be Saturday, and we'll see how far we get on the salad fork before that project starts to exit my brain too much. So for all of those that are here, have a good week. Enjoy the rest of the good weather that we do have, and we'll see you on the next one.